Greetings, everyone. This is your jazz hour of Obvio. I thought we would keep it playing for a little bit. No, it's all good. Um, hello, everyone. Welcome to another exciting episode of Obvio Q&A. You would have seen the button on the dashboard that said "Ask a question." That's where we post questions to make sure that we don't miss anything in the chat. And a reminder that those questions can be as basic or as advanced as wherever it is that you are at. These calls don't build on each other, and so we just take whatever questions there are. I'm just going to pull up questions. See what we've got here. Oh, look at that. Wow. Jeffries, you get the prize for most amount of questions. It's good.
Well, that's because I've been away for a while.
Fair enough.
So this is a rebound. Yeah.
Oh, that's good. All right. Well, we can. How would you like to do this? As in, I can prompt you with the questions that you've got here, or are you confident with what you wanted to cover? You know what you are. We can talk it through if you like.
Sure. It's probably more than I can absorb, so that's just fine.
Well, it's a good thing it's recording, so that you can go back over it and put it on half speed, so that you can. All right. So your first one here is, how do I set up a button on a dashboard? Ask a question, and then have it go where I can read and respond. Okay, a good one. I can demonstrate that. Let me get set up here to share, and I can show you exactly the behind the scenes of what we're doing for this particular meeting. So the way that it works is that it's just forms. It's just a particular form, and then the key is, here we go, there and there. All right. So we'll start off at the dashboard. Well, actually, we'll start at forms. So I'll show you this. Okay, it is this one. So all I've gone to is to forms here, and you can start a new form. You can name it. I'll show you, to save a little bit of time, I'll just show you what we have here. So when I click on this particular form, you'll see that I've got the name of the questions. Submit a question. To submit my question is the button for submit, like as in to send it. Submitted. Thanks for the question. This field's required. So we've got a couple of fields there that you just enter in for the text that you want specifically, but that's all it really needs, is that we literally have allow multiple submissions is important, because as Jeffrey has done today, entered 10 times or so, you can set up forms where you can only submit once. So allowing multiple, and then the question itself, when we came down here, was just add a question, and was, what is your question? So this is a form with one question in it. Forms is a whole nother thing. I'll keep focused on using it as a question posting tool. But yes, so we've got ask a question, and you'll see that it is a long answer text is the type of question that we've set up there. So once all that's done, the next step would be to go back to the dashboard and ensure that you've got a button that is launching that. So when we go to, you could add a button, and when you come to what type of link the button is, you'd hit form and you'd say new Obvio question. And so now that button launches the form. Yeah. Is there a question there? No. Okay. So that launches. Yes, go ahead.
No, I'm following. Thank you. Thank
Okay.
you.
Oh, good. Ask a question. That'll pop up the form. As most of you have seen, you type a question in. Where that goes is back into the forms. There's two places it's going to, in a sense. You can download those submissions. So if this was just something that you were capturing at some point, then you could just download them, and that's it. That would be an export into a spreadsheet. Or what we have here is moderation. And so this moderation tool here is now where all the questions appear. And the nice thing is that you can sort of move these around and sort them. So often what I do on this call is I will see questions come in, and maybe there'll be a production question or a more generic event-based question, sort of on online events or those sorts of things. And so I might sit them off to one side and I'll prioritize questions specifically about Obvio. We do all those first, and then we'll circle back around. So that's why having where this comes into its own is on large scale events where you can't possibly track the chat, and also on multi-Zoom meeting events where you can't track it across multiple rooms. So having it in one place like this means that all of it comes to this, and then you're able to sort them out there. So what happens here is we can put this on deck, and there's a couple of little extra features here. So you can have a stage view. And so this is a link that you can actually give to a host, and they could open it on an iPad, for example, and the questions are just appearing. So the idea of moderating the questions is being able to say, do you know what? I don't want this question, but I do want this question. And so that'll come over here, sit that there, and that'll update on that stage view. And you could just have this stage view. You think about it as having someone in the team behind the scenes kind of sorting those questions. And then just having this.
Like somebody working the event with you.
Yeah.
You're saying.
Now on what we're doing right now, I'm just doing it myself, and I just read from this screen, right? But this is a stage output screen that you can have.
What is this?
How did I get to that?
Yeah.
So
on deck. Yeah.
On each one of these, you can actually open a stage view for each one. But generally on deck is to say that that's what's happening now. And so stage view will open this, and now you've got a nice, easy view that you can customize. You even got, you can change the text size here. And so it's very handy, particularly when you do have someone doing it for you, because they can, once the question is finished, they can remove it. And so the little tick there to say that it's done, right? And so now that's moved off, and someone else could do that for you, or you could do it. So it's a really nice feature. It's a great way of handling questions.
So I could do this while I'm actually giving the event, like from my iPad here. Okay. Now, another question I have, maybe it kind of folds into this, is do I need to have a second computer to be running any part of this?
You don't need to, but best practice probably would be that you do have a separate computer, so it just depends on what you're doing. So there's nothing about this that requires it to be full screen or requires to take over a computer or anything like that. So it's simply just in a browser. And so I'm managing it on one computer for today, and I just jump back to this screen whenever I need to, and then we go through those questions that way. So, however, best practice, I think, depending on how your setup is as a host, is, that could be in a teleprompter, it could be on a screen behind your camera so that you can kind of look through it and read the questions. It could just be on an iPad that you pick up, or even a phone. It will actually open on a phone, and you can just zip through it that way. So it depends on what your setup is. I like the idea. This is a general feeling that I have, is that I like when I have dedicated screens to a single task. And so what that means is that I start to get used to where to look, so that I'm going to look over at this screen to see my gallery view. I'm going to look at this screen to see all my questions. I'm going to look at this to see my notes and slides or whatever it is. And now you're just teaching yourself that it's always that setup, or it's, because it's very easy to have many windows under windows under windows, and how quickly that 1 second of you trying to find the 2 seconds you trying to find the screen turns into 10 seconds, and the snowball effect of you feeling stressed about all this dead space while you're trying to find your things on the computer. So that's just a general thought, is having dedicated spaces.
So dedicated different computers then. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Just to complete this, there is a lower third option here as well, which what this is for more complicated setups, where you might have a production setup where you wanted to push the question and show people the question overlaid on top of your video. So there's an output dedicated to that, and you'd have a bit more of an advanced setup, but just wanted to show that it was available for people there. That's the lower third option.
Great.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
So, yeah.
No.
So that's
I'll
that
just have
one.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So your next one, I wanted to set up a page where someone can be directed and pay for the course. This is a 12-week series. I have a Stripe activated. How do I get that to work and integrated with them receiving the email with their link? Yeah. So we have a function as part of. How are you currently selling your registrations? How do people sign up to your event?
Well, I haven't done it yet, so I'm
still thinking about it. Okay.
Yeah.
So our marketplace module is for selling, as a selling page, right? So you're selling registrations, you sell tickets to your event, and then there is a new part of that module, which is add-ons, and the concept of that is that you could sell an add-on. Now, the idea of an add-on would be that someone has paid the $100 for the general admission ticket, and then during the event, actually they want the VIP experience, which is another $100, and you add on, and it changes their ticket type, and now they're a VIP, right? So that's the concept of an add-on. It could be used for selling another thing. Justin, hello, Justin, welcome. Correct me if I'm wrong, but we have said that in some use cases where people are getting started and they want to sell their high ticket offer, they could do it. There's nothing really stopping them from doing that through an add-on like that, right?
Nothing technically stopping them.
Yeah.
It is not the most obvious thing to actually create your high ticket offer pages. You almost end up needing to create another event for it.
Yeah. So it's particularly useful for selling a resource or something, selling a digital, a resource that you could have on your dashboard. It was a PDF that you're selling for $10, and now only if people have paid for that add-on, they'll get tagged in Obvio that they have that add-on now, and now the add-on would appear on the dashboard. That's like sort of the use case that it could be used for. When we're thinking about high ticket offers or the next thing, you may just wish to have that off in another CRM system that manages all that, or a membership system that's dedicated to making that happen. Unless it was that you were selling another event. But even then, if it was another event, you would probably set up another event in Obvio and have a marketplace purchase page, which is for that event, rather than trying to have the two events on the same dashboard. Is that making sense?
Yeah, I mean, it's just where I apply it, I can see what you're talking about, and in terms of that kind of progression and running a virtual live event, and then selling your high ticket item or your VIPs. This in particular is, in a sense, singular. Okay, so I'm going to use this a little bit differently. This is actually going to be used as like a dashboard for an ongoing 12-week series that professionals would buy into. So it's kind of already not really quite a high ticket item, but it's not a inexpensive thing either. So I'm looking for an easy way that I'd be able to drive people to, like, say, this sales page, sort of selling page, and then once they do that, then they would have access to the dashboard. So in other words, I would drive them directly to that page. Okay, so then they do the transaction, and it's going to have whatever on it, just to affirm it. It's not going to be a full-on kind of like trying to convince them thing, because they're likely already convinced by the time they get there. Okay.
Yes.
But just like an affirmation aspect of it, or a little bit more information about what it's going to be. But to direct them to pay for the event, and then boom, then once they do that, that it generates the email and the link where they would then have access to it for the times that then we'll actually run the program. So am I myself clear?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that makes more sense, that it's not really an add-on. It is actually just the purchase of the event. Now, an event can be any duration. Right. And so your event just happens to be 12 weeks, once a week, which is totally fine. It makes no difference to the Obvio event. It doesn't matter whether they're consecutive days or weekly, and it doesn't matter if it's 1 day or 2 years, right? So the event that we are in right now, in the updates event, is a weekly event that's been running for years. And what happened is, you were signed up to it as a free attendee, but if we had used Marketplace, we could have said it was $1,000 for the ticket. You would pay, and then now you would have access to the event, and you would have the purchase emails that would go out, and you could set up broadcasts, and which you would want to do. You would want to set up a broadcast for every week to remind people that we're about to start, or it starts in an hour, or whatever, and you can do all of that.
That's the kind of information I'm looking to do. The broadcast, the weekly reminders, the scheduled reminders, all that good stuff. And
that's great.
Now, text as well, correct? I would be able to send out a text.
You could, if you collect their number, if you collect their phone number, then yes, you could do text reminders all through Obvio.
And email reminders.
And emails. Yeah, you can do both. So really, what you're needing to do is to what I'm going to do is double check. Justin, I don't know if you know this, the onboarding videos that Blue does, whether we did Marketplace then, or if we did Marketplace as a separate one. I feel like it might be a separate one.
I'm feeling the same, but I don't know for sure.
Yeah. I will find that. So what I'm suggesting for you, Jeffrey, is that that you watch a video specifically about how Marketplace works. That's where Blue steps through all of the the steps required to make Marketplace work.
Mm-hmm.
And then what I'll just show people, which can be quite helpful. These are just in general, we are wanting to work a bit more on making videos a bit easier to find, to step you through things. But I'll just show you that when you go to the workshops button here on the dashboard.
Workshops, okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. This is where Blue did these eight different calls. They're all a couple of hours each, but they break down. Now, your friend is this search up here.
Ah, okay. Right.
Okay. So what you'll see here is this will search across the transcripts. I'm taking a guess here. So we've gone to call 8. An hour in. Let's see what
up at the top right hand corner is where it says Teams. And there's 2 tabs. So in Teams, members and roles. We're currently in
he's talking about roles there.
Next up, the ability to check in your attendees. The ability to work within the marketplace. That is
right.
Distribute over time and put 60 in there.
He's talking about how the broadcasts
happening
work.
Is the total number of emails that are
really
being sent
helpful
will be divided by 60, and then it'll
95%
send that many
of
emails
how
every
Obvio
minute
works,
automatically.
Blue talks about in detail in those workshop videos. And so those keywords that you look for, you would be able to jump around, you'd find exactly where he's talking about it. Now, what we have done is we've cut up some of these videos as well, to make it a little bit easier. And that's what we're trying to put through the site so that you could jump to a video and in the spot that you're looking for it. And we're getting to that.
Right, because I recall sometimes Blue says, "Oh, we're going to create a video on this." Okay,
right,
and so
yes,
so then he talks about the subject. There's the in between part where you're dialoguing, you're talking about this, and then he'll say, "Boom, this is the subject." So I've said, I would really like to be able to get my hands on those. Okay, so is that what you're talking about then?
Yeah, and that's during that, it was during those workshop calls, there was segments that were broken up. And actually, I'll show you this too, because this could be of interest. Yeah, there we go. Let me show you this. So I'm just looking at our YouTube channel now. And we've got a couple of videos here, like Marketplace Walkthrough.
This is YouTube.
So, Justin, I should just make sure this is the new Marketplace.
So asset benefit 1.
Because if it's not,
you can then increase the size of that, and it doesn't remember for some reason the actual order of the items, but you can just come in and move it around, similar to the way you can move pretty much everything inside, see what some of the information is around this hero section. So an hour-long event, I can define whether or not I want to
Justin, do you reckon that's the
times on the same. There's a couple of little toggles here.
It is definitely not the most recent one.
How it displays. And then you can.
I'm going to hide this right now because that's going to be unhelpful to people. Looking at the back end.
Okay. By the way, on YouTube, there's an area in there, and is there kind of a catalog of these different videos? So if I just type in YouTube Obvio, or how do I get to maybe that grouping there?
Yeah, I'll show you that. So it's there. It's called Obvio Online is the and so we've actually got, these are all the calls that we have done.
Okay.
And then we've got some of the extra videos there that talk through how it works. Yeah, points. That's right. Emoji page, things like that. So,
whole thing.
Do you know
Video.
where? I'll put that link in the chat. There is the strength and weakness of where Obvio is at is that everyone who works on, apart from our developers, but everyone who is working on Obvio is also working on events, right? And so we are constantly using Obvio for our events, for our clients and our own events, and that's a real strength. The weakness is that we are working on our events and not necessarily working on creating videos about how to use Obvio, right? And so you can trust us that we're using the platform day in, day out. And so it's successfully running events every day. But our support could be better. And that's what we're working on. And part of that is doing these calls, right? It's like at least every week we're available. We've got our email support and our live chat during Eastern business hours. So we're doing a bit, but we are aware that we could do a lot more, and it's on the cards.
A question on that with the events that you do, would
Yes.
it be overstepping to ask, I would love to be able to just sort of, be a fly on the wall and see some of the events that you do. Is there any way to be able to do that?
Not easily, in that, there's all sorts of IP implications and client approval processes and things. What I think could happen is for something like TVE, that I know there was a little bit of talk about doing a bit of a debrief on how TVE works. There might be an event of mine that I could sort of dissect and talk through about how that all works. So yeah, it's an interesting use case for these calls. Even is to kind of pull an event apart and talk about how we did it in the different roles that are done as well. So often we get into the production side, which is can be quite interesting and complicated. But even just talking about how we're using Obvio and how that's worked and what team members we had and things like that. Yeah, an inside look. Yeah, for sure. That's
great.
That's a possibility. Yeah. So Jeffrey, you've got a few more questions. We might just we might go to Janelle. Is it Janelle?
Hey, I don't know if this is the place for this question either, so just tell me and then I can go offline. But we just moved into our new offices, and our downstairs we are putting 3 different podcast rooms and like a studio and everything. And nice. I wondered if there was any like recording specifically that I can reference. Like I'm mostly concerned with like the set, like the walls. Your recommendations for the sound. It's very echoey down there. So like those wood slat walls, is that the best or something different?
Right. Okay. Yes. So there's a lot there. There's a lot that can be spoken about. So generally, just so we know, we tend to try to do specific Obvio based questions first, and then we'll do production questions sort of at the end. Okay. But since you've asked it now, what I would say is that when setting up a space, no matter how big or small it is, I think about 5 priorities. I think about power and internet, because you don't have a show if you don't have power and internet, right?
Yeah, and we did pre-wire everything.
Nice. Well done. Yeah, that's great. And so it's a priority. The next priority is sound, right? So before we think about anything else, we want to get sound right, and we want it to sound close, and we don't want it to be echoey. So we totally feel like Zoom fatigue, which we don't hear so much anymore, but is directly linked to bad audio and video. Because you never hear people say Netflix fatigue, right? I just binge watched 8 hours and I didn't have Netflix fatigue. But when I sat on Zoom for 2 hours or 1 hour or 30 minutes with terrible audio, I had a headache. And of course you had a headache, right? Because that echoey sound is bouncing around the room and your brain is trying to correct all of that and trying to focus in on the voice, but all it can hear is this cavernous echo sound, and it gives you a headache. So sound is the most important, right? And and there's two things on that. One is how you're capturing the sound, and the second thing is, as you've pointed out, is the space that you're in, how the sound is bouncing around in that space. So slat walls can work well. Essentially, what you're wanting to do with sound is there's two things. There's absorption and there's diffusion, right? And so diffusion is bouncing the sound off in different directions so that it's not what happens where you get echo and you've got it in that space you're in right now.
Yeah, there's nothing in here yet. We just moved in.
That's right. So all you've got parallel walls. So as soon as your sound hits, it just bounces and bounces and bounces off each surface and keeps going back and forth until it dies out, right? So what you want to do is you want to disperse the sound. So ideally, you've got you've got walls that are offset. Actually, when you go to recording studios, they're never actually fully square, right? The walls will be offset. They'll be, at different angles. And the other thing you want to do is absorption. So you also want to keep the outside sound out, and so what you do with that is mass. It's just more more mass.
Okay.
And that's why it's offered more rock wall, and more insulation, and all of that helps to cut that down. And then the dispersion on top on the space itself, right? So that you can do curtains and you can do all sorts of different things to try to soften it up. Soft furnishings in the space as well, having couches and things like that. More temporary for people in smaller spaces is like moving blankets, hanging moving blankets up around, behind you, and all of that all cuts down that sound. So, and then of course you, as I said, is how you're capturing the sound. And so the sound is the microphone itself is getting nice and close sound. And if you're moving around and, you do a little headset mic or something like that, and it's nice and close and people feel like it's close. Overall, there's like, honestly, I'm actually thinking of creating courses on this stuff because I really like it. And I keep sort of fine tuning what it is that we're talking about with this. The thing with all of this is that you're not worried about what people think. It's what people feel. Most people, when they hear bad audio, will not say, gee, that's really bad echoey audio. They won't even think about it. Most people won't think that's echoey sound. What they'll do is they'll feel distant from you, and they'll get a headache, and they won't necessarily know why.
Right. Okay.
And they won't blame bad audio. They'll just say, I've got a headache and I'm bored and I'm getting distracted and this is not for me. Right.
Okay.
So when you get that right, they feel closer to you, they feel connected to you. And now you go on a journey together. Now you've got a community, right? Because you've got this stuff right. So what's important too, and this is really the genius of Obvio and of Blue, was right at the start 5 years ago. The thing that Blue was thinking about, Blue and Barry, was how do we make our hosts comfortable? And most people were not thinking about that. When he said, how do I get our host to see as many people as possible? That was putting up 9 TVs behind the camera to be able to see everyone, because that made the hosts feel more connected with the audience, which ultimately made for a better event.
Sure.
So being comfortable in your space is really important. Putting moving blankets up everywhere may sound really good, but it might feel like you're in some, removalist truck.
But curtains are great.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah.
So ideally, you're finding the cross section between it looks really nice, it feels really nice to be in there, and it sounds great. Because it feels cozy and warm, because it's not a cavern, it's not a cave. It's a nice, comfortable space to be in. And as a host, you want to be in that space. And when you want to be in that space, people want to be in that space with you, as in virtually, they want to be in that space and be with you. So there's a lot. I'm sure you've got timelines and things, but you don't want to rush it, right? As in, you want to be just really clear about what the objectives are. And one of those is you being really comfortable in there. And often we forget that.
Yeah.
And we just think, I just want the camera to look like it looks good and the mic to look good. I don't care what you can't see, and there's boxes and all sorts of stuff all around. You don't want that, because you don't want to be in there, right?
Yeah,
you want to be in that. So, so go.
I was just going to say, I don't know if it's an extra fee or service if we wanted to send you like a image of our potential space. Could you give feedback?
Yes. I mean, look, Blue and I, all of us, Justin, Muddy, we all wear different hats, all have multiple hats. And so, I work a few days a week on Obvio, and the rest of the time I'm running an events company in Australia. And that sort of stuff, we do, studio fit outs and things like that. Same again, Justin does all these sorts of things as well, right? So anything possible, and we can be contracted in many different ways. And so I'm happy to have a conversation with you about that.
Okay.
And I'll complete the crash course. Jeff, did you want to add about where I'm at, like with sound and the room treatment?
I actually just sent out an email to my list yesterday. I've gotten really nerdy about studying room acoustics and its impact on learning. And I actually found some research that says it can actually reduce learning and retention by up to 50%. So just the echoey, the brain's like a muscle, right? So when we get tired, we just stop filtering things out because we have to edit out all of the background noise in our brain. So 50%. So it's just to your point, Grant, it's so important to start with audio and make sure that that's really good.
Yeah, and it's what we connect with the most, right? And we know that because if we have great video and terrible audio, we'll just turn off. But we will suffer through, or not even suffer through. We will deal with bad video if the audio is really good. And because you're connecting mostly with how they're sounding, So I guess to complete the 5 and the coming attractions is to after audio is to think about lighting. So lighting is more important than video, in that it's more important than your camera. A bad camera with good lighting will look all right. A great camera with bad lighting will look terrible. Right.
So the lighting, sorry, one quick question, then I know you can stop me. But so like we were gonna paint the wall in one of the rooms like this color. Now, if you paint something like a dark color like that, is that gonna mess the lighting up?
Not necessarily. Not necessarily.
Okay.
I mean, if that's the color that looks great. I mean, it depends on the paint, whether it has a gloss or a matte finish, and how reflective it is on from the lighting. So
Okay.
normally what would happen is that you would lighting. What works really well with lighting is 3 points of light, right? Ideally, sort of 2 in front of you, 1 behind you, and then you have set lighting, right? And so it's unlikely that you would paint a wall behind you and then that's it. You would likely light the wall as well.
Yeah.
And so then when you light the wall, you may choose to light it with blue, or you might choose to light that with more of an open white light. It depends on how it reflects and things. So sometimes it's like when you see outside, people can light up trees with green light, and that looks really great, right? The green on green looks great. The blue on blue might look really good. Jeff, have you got a study on lighting as well?
I don't know about a study on this one. Yeah, you're going to come to me for like all sorts of research, and I'm running out of it. I will say, if there's a way to test your colors before painting, try to do that. I would really encourage research around color psychology. My background's in radio, and we had a station manager back in the day that decided to repaint the studio without telling any of the on-air talent, the DJs, right? Now, these DJs are in there doing shows, coming up with creative content for 4 hours at a time. It's a long time to be in a box of a room, trying to be creative, and then you're juggling all these things in front of 30,000 people. It's a lot. And you do that every day, right? And after they painted the room, every show sucked. It was bad. And they interviewed, or surveyed the DJs, and everybody had the same feedback. And it's, I can't think in here. They did not take any consideration into the wall color and the paint color. And what happened is, when we researched the actual color psychology, when they looked at it, the paint color and its impact, it was not recommended for any room where you had to do anything creative.
Oh my God.
So they went and did a little more research. They repainted it, and all of a sudden, no joke, like everyone came alive again. Like everyone came alive in this room. The shows improved. It was a big deal. My curtains in my studio next to me here, you can see one in the corner. It's a light gray. We got these, and I said, there's light bouncing kind of everywhere. I want to go with all black. And I walked in the studio. I wasn't even there 5 minutes, and I said, we're going back to the gray. Like the room shrunk, and it felt claustrophobic. And as an event host, I was like, I can't work. So if there's any way to simulate it before you paint all the walls and do the research on the front end, they'll tell you you'll save a lot of money. You also save a lot of headaches, because you may paint it and walk in there and you're like, I can't create in here. I can't do events in here, right? Like the room, I felt it closing in around me, right? And but then we put the gray back up, and everything felt relaxed. We felt like we had more space to create, and it wasn't just me. My team coming through were like, yeah, this is way better. So just a little feedback of doing it the wrong way.
But if you're looking to do an interrogation, then you could do the black room. Go to that radio station.
Interrogate me. Put me in a room with I forget, some awkward teal kind of a color and black curtains. Right. I'll tell you what everyone want to
know. So it was the recommendation I was going to make, is that there's a thing in broadcast called 18% gray. Right. And so what 18% is, as in from white, 18% black, essentially, right? Which ends up being gray. And what that is, it works really well on camera. It also, you can also put color light on it and make it almost any color, right? Better than white. And you don't want just a white room. And so that 18% gray is a really good place to to be. And that could be that you still do a feature wall or something, whatever you want to do as part of your set. But that's the sort of thing you think of. So that was the lighting element, was the 3-point sources and then set lighting. The next thing is camera, is video. And so ideally you want to have cameras that have a shallow depth of field, which means that the background is blurred out, and the subject is really sharp. So you look at Jeff's camera there is awesome. It's really sharp.
It's an iPhone.
You can see that.
I'm lazy.
Isn't
I'm
that
joining
amazing?
from my desk. The nice camera is next door.
Do you know what the thing is on this though? Is it's a perfect example of good lighting. So it's really good lighting that the iPhone's just picking up really nicely. And so you can pick out, you can count the gray hairs in his beard.
Don't do that now, Grant. Just pay attention to the
red
that we share.
I've got the same, dude. All right. So cameras is important, and that's a whole another thing. But having something with a shallow depth field is really good because it focuses people's attention, right? It tells people what to focus on. One of the biggest challenges with virtual backgrounds is that 9 times out of 10 they are in perfect focus. So it confuses the eye as to what to look at.
Yeah.
Am I reading the text? Am I looking at how sharp that plant is? Am I whatever it is? Or am I supposed to be looking at the person? When you have a blurred out background, and ideally it's practical because you don't want your ear disappearing or your glasses, going weird and, half the face disappearing. You'll start messing with people's heads at that point. They're just like, am I sick? Am I seeing things weird? What's going on here? Right. So I think practical sets are far better. And I'd rather a plain practical set than some funky, virtual background. So now you're telling people what to focus on, just by the view of it. So that's that. And then you go, what do I go? So sound, lighting, camera. The first one was internet and power. So now we're at 5, and that is the set. So it's the space that you're in. How does it look and feel? How do you want it to look? What do you want it to convey to people? And so there's lots of questions about that. Do you want them to feel like we mean business? This is a space where we're getting down to business and we're really learning. Can it be a bit more relaxed? Like, is it you're coming into my lounge room and you're spending time with me in my house? Like what is it that you want as soon as people see it? What's the feeling that they get? It's one of the cool things about Sage Studios with that huge wall is they can kind of make it whatever. And sometimes you've seen like they do like that a kitchen background, and that's super cool. But you don't have to stress about that, but you want to make it, ultimately you want to be really comfortable in it. You want to feel like you're your best when you're standing in that space. So that's the 5 things.
So much.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Thanks.
You're welcome. And certainly you can reach out to me and we can talk more about how we can help you with that or whatever. So happy to do that. But yeah, you can see I've even thought like I could totally do a 3-day event based around this, all this stuff, because there's a lot to it in doing it well, and it doesn't matter what size you're doing it at. It starts off as a corner in a bedroom, a spare bedroom or something, to right up to what you're doing with a full studio space. So congratulations, that's super exciting. But
the guy that's doing it for me, he sent me this invoice today with a ton of these slat walls and all this stuff. And I said, do we really have to spend that much on sound? Right. And so that's why I wanted to ask you. And I guess we do.
You can't. Yeah. So the thing with slat walls too is often they have the slats offset off of the wall a little bit, and then they might have like a a black or a felt or something behind it, something soft. And what happens then is the sound gets some of it gets absorbed in between the slats, and then some of it gets dispersed. And so it can be an effective way of handling sound. But also you'd want to go for the look as well. You want to make sure that that's the look that you want.
Right.
Because there's lots of ways. Yeah, just lots of thick curtains and things can make a big difference. So in this space, I didn't put sheetrock on the wall. I just put curtains over my insulation, right? And so, so it was just another way of doing it, because now it's a curtain with insulation behind it. It's not a wall behind it, and so that makes it more absorbing and that sort of thing. So you sort of feel it when you walk into the room. Cool. Yeah. Now you probably know. You've probably got insight into all that you don't know. It's like opening a world into all these other things, but
no, it's great. I need to be more aware of it so that I don't question the guy who's here helping me.
Yeah, and there's some super smart people around in this area, but not all of them think of it quite from the perspective of particularly of online events. So question everything, you can just think about, but if you think about your priorities of how you feel in the space, and then how do you want people to feel when they're connecting with you online, that can be sort of a driving motivation to try to get that right. So
I love that. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. So Jeffrey, we got off track a little bit, but I can get teased into that conversation very quickly, as you can see.
That was a conversation and completely relevant and helpful. So thank you.
Okay, good. Well, very good. I'm just going to double check in on everyone. We always gather a few more people into the call a little bit, and I just want to check what we have. So we talked about, Jeffrey, we talked about your marketplace. I'm going to cover off this question from Mitesh quickly. He's not on the call, but he will probably watch the recording. And that is that he was just asking about how when people join an Obvio meeting, they're coming in with one in their name, and the one dash and then the name of the person. And all that is that when you have multiple Zoom rooms in one area, it'll prepend the number of the room to the name of the person. And so, Mitesh, what you've got is you've got two meetings happening in one area, and so it'll automatically start appending the name, prepending. If you only have one room in the area, like we do in this particular event, you'll see that there are no numbers in there because we only have one Zoom meeting in that area. So the idea of that is that as we scale and you have 5,000 people come to your event, then you'll see that you might have 10 rooms, and you'll see the number of the room that people are from and what they're allocated in, just simply by seeing the participant list. You'll know what number they're in. So that's what that is about. All right, Jeffrey, communication tab. How does this work? Okay. So there was on that YouTube channel, Jeffrey. There is a broadcast. Well, two things, right? We went to the workshops and searched for broadcast, and then saw the part where Blue was talking all about broadcasts. So I would go back and watch that, and that's going to teach you all about how broadcasts work, including text messages and how that happens. So that would cover off the communication part.
That's on YouTube, or that's on the resources inside?
Well, both, right? Because you'll find it on both the YouTube channel there. There's a broadcasts. And you can search for it in the workshops and you'll find it too.
Right.
In the add blog post area, I have an image halfway down that is margin left, and I want it to be centered. Oh, yeah. Do you want...
I did chat with James about that, and he went on and he was trying to correct it, and he was not able to do it at that time. And he said maybe there's kind of a glitch in it. So I don't know.
Okay. What's your event called?
This one it's in there's an area called financial services, okay? And then inside you see one that says Jones Laurie.
Yep, got it. Let's have a little look-see here. I'll bring it up and share it. Are you okay for me to share it, Jeffrey? Is that okay?
Sure. Thank you.
Oh, yes, I can see it. All right, let's have a look. All right.
Exactly.
So you've got this. This is one blog post here. Is that it?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I see. I think it's where it's sitting in, yeah, there.
I tried all that.
Yeah. Interesting.
What occurred to me is to select, put your cursor after it, hold down shift and select it as if it were a text object and center it.
As in center the paragraph?
Yeah, exactly. As in center the paragraph.
Yeah, doesn't want to do that either. Okay. I'll just try I'm gonna try it again here. Yeah, okay. So then you're reducing the size. Do that and that. Huh.
Right. It didn't allow me to do that.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's something about the way the...
Do you have an option to clear formatting for that paragraph?
Yeah. It's not quite a paragraph. It's part of the issue too, but so what would happen if... I think it's about the resizing. Something's messing with that. Oops.
Well, I feel a heck of a lot better to see
yeah,
that
that's right.
I'm not.
Yeah. Justin, I reckon we have a little look at this just to see what it's doing. Yeah, I think so. I think it's certainly not working the way it should.
Someone else in the last week pointed out the same thing, and we haven't had a chance to look at it.
Yeah.
There's an image above it, and I was able to center that just fine. Yeah, up a little bit. So that, yeah.
That's weird because it's not set to center. I won't touch it. I think, to Muddy's point, I think it is kind of related to it sitting in the paragraph.
Grant, are you able to put a space before the image and after, and then try and center the paragraph? I found sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, so there's spaces, and it is now, and that's new paragraphs now. Well, let's do that.
Well, but what I'm saying is now move your cursor in front of the image to put a space, and
oh, I see what you mean. Yeah.
And then to select that whole line of text.
Yeah. Let's just see if that. It'll probably.
But again, this is all just kind of workarounds to.
Yeah.
Yeah, truly the way to get it centered is what Muddy said. You select the line before and after the image, and then it will center itself. So click the image, Grant, and pick the very first icon.
Yeah.
And then select the line below all the way through the line above, including the image. And then if you go up to the very top bar when it's all selected and center.
Wow.
Boom.
Super not obvious.
My work here is done.
Super not obvious.
It just takes enough clicking.
So it's a simple 9-step process. And then you well, so it's 2 things, right? Are you happy with that? As in how that is now? We make it a bit smaller or something, or is that okay?
I can resize it, right? And it'll still stay there, correct?
Yeah, you should be able to resize. You can play around with that.
Good, excellent. Wow. Terrific. Ta-da. All right.
That makes sense because I was trying to work out the why that top one was working. So thank you, Justin. Thanks for
maybe an hour or longer.
Work around the bug.
And
well, nothing's wasted, Jeffrey.
Yes.
What happened is you just learned 10 ways about how not to do it.
Okay.
So you better reference that.
Logical, what you did, I mean I get that. Okay.
All right. Let's get back to questions. All right. You've done well. How do I add more tabs? There isn't a way to add tabs necessarily to a navigation. Which was it on that same on the same dashboard?
Yeah, it's on the same dashboard. But if you look down, and it's below where I have the enter the forge and ask a question, and then I'm looking on the dashboard where you edit, and then it says
okay.
And then there's main, coach, our sponsors, and then some other stuff there. But I want to know how I can put tabs in there. Like
okay, yeah, you can't add like pages or links to that navigation bar. They are preset. So just show you.
Well, how do I edit them now? How do I edit them? That's big.
Yeah.
Okay. Right.
So each one of these is already a page, right? And so what they are is speakers and sponsors, FAQs, backgrounds, right? And the way to turn them off or on, however it is in each one of these. See this? Now, clearly you want that one to work, so you've enabled. And then sponsors here, same again, you've got that enabled. Well, then the FAQ section currently is disabled.
Oh, wait, I see. Okay, right, okay.
Right. And Zoom backgrounds is disabled, which is fine. So that's how they are enabled or disabled. Same with
the one there, leaderboard menu title. Can I edit that, change those names, and then make them visible, or what? Like, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And now backgrounds is turned off anyway, but
what is background?
Zoom backgrounds is where you could provide people with a custom background, that had your logo or a particular thing, So after just waxing on about, virtual backgrounds and not using them, where I do think that it can work sometimes is for your attendees, and where you might separate out, like you can give a VIP background for example, and it's a particular color, and now people put that on. If they're going to put on a virtual background anyway, you might as well give them one. And now when you're looking at the gallery view, it's super obvious who your VIPs are, or your, whatever it is, because their background is that,
Can I have can I have a personal background that would be created for them? Let's just say they're from a company, and I put their logo there so that they would have a background of their logo, or like, like a step and repeat kind of a thing. Could I create something like that? And then each one could use their own sort of like, identity background. I mean, maybe it's not that, but whatever that might be.
Yeah. Yes. So you can, what I can't remember is, so you can create and upload as many backgrounds as you like. You can then use visibility rules as to who is able to see that background.
Oh, okay. So I could have like a person who would have well, but would the person have a tag? Is that how it works? Is that what that means? Is it individually?
It can be a tag. It could be a group, and so you could have a group that was company. That's not working because it's not actually a group, but and then the company was Apple. And now they'll only see that one. Then you create another one, and now you've got Facebook as another company, and now you've got them. And only if they have a group in their attendee record, the group company is Facebook, they will see the Facebook background.
Okay.
So I could have, it's possible
that it would identify that group would be, whoever they might be, correct?
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Some way of identifying them, if it's a tag or a group, is something to do. And those sorts of things, if they have, go ahead. Tag as well.
Is tag to an individual participant, or is that like an identifier,
yes,
like a VIP? It's an individual.
A tag is an individual, is a single word that's tagged to an individual attendee, right? And so the difference, it's always hard, because tags and groups can in many ways achieve the same result. It just depends on how you're collating that data. So if you're saying that this person is a VIP, that is a pretty good use case for a tag, right? You can say they're a VIP.
Yep.
But if you could also create a group which was ticket type, and under that, a value could be VIP, and it could be general admission, could be whatever, however many different ticket types you had. That could be a group. For just creating visibility, either one of those works fine, right? Where it's where group equals VIP, group ticket type equals VIP would achieve the same thing as tag equals VIP. Where it comes a little bit different with a group is where you're storing other data. So favorite color, you've now got your favorite colors, and it's a million different colors. What you can do with a group is you're able to put on the dashboard, you could use that group somewhere where you're showing what their favorite color is. For example, on the dashboard, you say, hello, Grant, which is first name. That's kind of a group as well, right? When we're thinking of it as kind of merge codes or custom fields. So, hello, Grant, your favorite color is favorite color group. Your favorite color is red. And so there's a few places where you can use groups as a custom field. In some ways, custom field may be a better term than group. So that's, and another place, just as an example, is in labels, where you can put a label after the name of someone in Zoom. You can, where I've used this, is I've said state and country as a group, and now everyone's got their state and country, or state if it's just in your main country or whatever it is. And now I've appended that as a label to everyone in Zoom, and now I can see where they're from. Super handy, right? Like if you have that data, then seeing that they're from California and this one's from New Zealand and this one whatever, that can be super handy.
Right.
And
so
and just yep.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Sorry. Just another use case, and you store this in the back of your head. I did an event where I had a bunch of doctors, and there was 60 doctors, and they all had different sort of classifications. Some of them were in training, they were registrars, some were professors, right? And so I was able to say what their title was, or I can't remember what I used, the term that I used, and then filled out all the data on them. So now when it came to question time, and we can see that a trainee asked this question, the hosts knew how to pitch that question. When they had a professor ask a question, they knew how to pitch that question, right? Because they could see it simply in Zoom. And that was just using a group value. You can't do that with tags, right? That's not how tags work.
So that will show up on their name, their group, on your screen, on your.
This is a function called labels. It's under attendees, and there's a whole little workshop thing on that. Hey, Chuck, long time no see.
Hello, sir. You have great timing. I just popped in because this is exactly what I'm dealing with now.
Okay.
I have an upcoming 4-day class where we have to split the group into pairs, A and Bs, and we want them to find a partner. So it's not just, so I have the labels where I went through and I just went through the export of the attendees, and I created a group column, and I went through and called them A's up to half and then the rest B's. So I can use that for the label. The problem is now we have to pair them. I have to have an A and a B. So what I did, and this is why I'm on here to ask you if this is the best way to do this in short notice.
Yeah, sure.
Is I went through and I just added after their last name a number 1 through 156. And so I have 156 A's and 156 B's. And so my breakout support is literally just going to go down the list and put the A's and B's of the matching number together and try to get them to do it that way. So this is something that we're trying to do a virtual version of an in-person class that we used to do. and it's not an event, it's a 4-day summit, sort of. So can you think of any easier way to split them into paired groups?
So just help me understand why you don't just do random pairs. You obviously have a reason, but why is that?
Over 200 people in the meeting, so I only have 100 breakout rooms.
Okay, and so you're doing multiple meetings.
So no, we were going to try that. I nixed it because I'm not at home in the studio to run that. So instead, we're going to keep it as one meeting, but then put them in groups of 4 or 6. So those should be 2 or 3 pairs in each breakout room. Yeah, I know. I'm just the facilitator. I'm not the idea. So basically, it's they're doing something together, and it's 2 groups of instructions. So we want the B's to go to one breakout room while the A's get instruction, and then swap. And then the A's and B's that are paired up with each other are supposed to meet to discuss how that felt.
Yeah, okay. And while
I figured I'd ask the question so it could benefit others. So
that's good. I like challenges like this, and I like Muddy's thinking about
Clearly,
it too.
all of us are doing this on the side at our next event.
Yeah.
Well,
I like that you're saying they meet in pairs in groups of 3 pairs.
Well, that's just because if I wasn't on the road right now, I'm in a hotel room right now. If I wasn't on the road, then yeah, I would do multiple meetings, and I'd have two meetings that could easily do 100 breakout rooms and not have a problem. But I'm not, and I couldn't take the time to explain to someone else how to do 2 Zooms easily. And it's because some of the teaching portion of it is pre-recorded. So I'm not the one teaching it. So
this is just
that's where I sit right now, and this is why I'm coming to you guys to see.
Fair enough.
What would you do?
Muddy, what are you thinking?
Why do you need the numbers?
That's a good question.
So,
why?
Well, the question is
question.
Why do you need the numbers? Because if the idea is that B's have one experience, A's have another experience, and then you need 3 A's and 3 B's in each breakout room to have a conversation about it, why not, if they at least have the A and B label, that's just as easy, probably easier for your breakout technicians to just say, grab 3 A's, grab 3 B's, they're in this room, and repeat.
I love that. And the answer to most difficult things when you're asked to do them is because we've always done it that way.
Yeah, that's right.
And so what they're doing is they're wanting them to be able to have partners to discuss the experience later on, or for a length of time to
recurring,
see how,
like, they stay as buddies through the whole event.
It's really just on Monday. They're in class on Friday, Saturday they have a break, Sunday they have class, and then Monday is when this experience is supposed to happen. And Catherine is absolutely right. There will be issues if some of the pairs don't show. So my support personnel have so I just spent an hour manually putting numbers after 314 people's names. And then I looked at my email and I saw, hey, Obvio call is starting, and I thought, why not hop on and hit you guys with this? Because why should I suffer in silence? So
when's your event, Chuck?
It starts Friday. And the day that they need this split is Monday. And I'm running down for another event during that. So I have to, not only does it have to work, but it has to be so easy that I can instruct someone else to do it when I'm not available. So I love a good challenge.
I was going to say you could probably hire Grant to write you some scripts, but if you needed to be super simple so anybody can push the button, that may be a little bit more
that's
difficult.
why modifying an import list seemed to be my best option. Putting the numbers after the name seemed to be the quickest solution for me. So that's what I went with, but I just wanted you guys to make me feel good.
I mean, that's a great solution to see them. The hard solution is getting 300 people in a breakout. That's a lot of clicking to to put the right
Oh,
pairs in the
listen,
right spot.
my guys are used to doing it. We do 6 groups like this a year. And they are used to splitting them
I have
into
another idea.
paired. Say that again, Muddy.
So he's got another idea, but he's holding. It needs cooking.
All right, let Muddy
So
cook.
I would just I'll throw in there. I don't think that this works necessarily for this particular use case, but just for those playing at home, there is an interesting newish feature that's connected to polls where you can create breakout rooms based on the answer to a Zoom poll. And so when people
does Obvio support this?
Yeah. So the trick with this, Chuck, is that in order to access polls in an Obvio Zoom, you need to shift click when you start the room. Hold down
Which
shift
I do it all the time anyway.
and click. Sure. So then you're the account host when you do that. There's a little bit of background knowledge for people. But if you're messing around with polls, then you kind of are in the elite group anyway.
I might try that for next month's event, but for this one,
yeah, I was going to say I don't necessarily think it works particularly well, but it's an interesting use case because you could have only the people that like A's and B's. You could have people answer there that they are.
This is the first time we're running into this. Our membership in this particular course just reached over 200. Right. Yeah, and so this is the first time they're seeing this problem. Luckily, I caught it ahead of time, and now I'm stuck with trying to fix it. So
it's a good problem to have.
I actually don't think the polls create breakout rooms based on polls would work because what you'd end up is one room of A's and one room of B's.
Yeah, you would have to tell people only those.
But here's my idea, and the person who I'm empathizing with is the Zoom room technician, right? The people building the rooms. And if the number and the code is after the name, that's even more difficult to kind of get because it doesn't line up visually either, right? It's kind of like at the end of the name. And so my thought was, what about you have 6 people who are room number 1A, 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 1B, 1B, 1B. And so you have, 6 people that have number 1, 3 A's and 3 B's. And so essentially the number that you're appending to their name, and I would probably prepend this in front of their name just to make it super easy for the alignment. And again, if it's only needed on day 4 or whatever, day 3, you just import their names for that day so they don't have to run the whole meeting with this in front of their name. But adding the number, the room number. So that way, when you're creating the rooms, it's a whole lot easier to know because all the people with one A's and one B's, they all go to room 1. People with 2's go to room 2. And so that way you don't have to say 155, 156, and 157 are in this room, 52.
I like that better. That's talking them out of the pairing idea, which they have in their mind because they think 2 people sharing the experience is more powerful. So I may have to talk to them about that, but that's a good solution because then I would have 100 breakout rooms and I could just label 1 through 100 A or B, and then however many that is, 5 or 6 per room.
You can still do the pairs. I agree with you, Muddy. It's just you add a third thing to it. So you've got 1A, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 1A, pair, 1, 2, 3. So it's 1A1, 1A2, 1A3.
Looks like I'm spending a lot of time in Google Sheets today.
That's not too bad.
I was going to say, you know how to concatenate the fields, so it'd be pretty easy to just, copy down and then copy over and then copy and paste as, paste result, something like that.
Yeah.
I don't think that I don't necessarily agree with Muddy that pre-pending it will make that big a difference, and that only because when you're searching and assigning.
Well, remember, it's not this. It's not just the participant window. Yeah, it's the breakout room assignment window. Yeah.
Yeah. So when
he'll
you
be able to
search
see
there,
the full field. Yep.
If I search for Veely, then I can search for part of the name.
I forgot you could search in the breakout room dialog box.
Yeah. So you can totally just search for 1A and the 6 people will come up there. Bang, 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 bang. And they can still have 1A1, 1A2, 1A3. And there's 2 1s and there's 2 2s and 2 3s.
Yeah. So then I would definitely put it after their name, knowing that.
Yeah. And so then now it's all just after the name. You search for it, they assign it, and away it goes. And actually, you could have multiple people that do that too. But
yeah, we're probably gonna have 2 or 3 in the meeting. But I figured I'd bring it to you guys because sometimes it helps for new people. Hi, everybody.
Workshop
here.
the idea.
We're using it this is using Obvio for an ongoing class, not for just an event. And we do this with 4 groups 2 or 3 times a year. So
it's really cool. Well, congratulations on getting more people showing up. It's a good problem to have.
It is a great problem. Just gotta stretch a little with it,
Yeah. And stop double booking yourself. That's what needs.
Actually, no, I'm doing a 5-day event in Sedona. I am not upset about that.
Okay, nice.
This is honestly really fun, and all I'm doing is managing music for that event. So good stuff. Okay, so sorry everybody
for
taking over with my question. I'm gonna dip off because I got to go to a meeting to talk about this now.
Chuck, I would suggest for future Chuck, I would suggest reaching out to Grant to see could he potentially automate this. He's done a whole lot of scripts around breakout rooms and automations that could match all those rules that you talked about. So you just click a button and go instead of having to manually do all that assignment.
That might be something.
Could be fun. All right, dude. All the best.
Right. Take care.
All right. Jeffrey, for a change, has a question. Where is the best place to put a video that will then be on the purchase page? And how do we go about that? Yeah, so that's it's a marketplace thing, which is on the purchase page. And in marketplace, you can add videos, and you'll see that. Yep.
Maybe I need to clarify my question. I mean, what sort of video placement source, like YouTube or whatever else.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah. I think particularly for something that is public like that, then using YouTube is a no-brainer. That would be a good way to do it. Obvio will you can embed actually any sort of videos because you can do an HTML embed code. So the embed code that you can get the code, you can put that in to Obvio. But we also have sort of shortcuts, or we support just putting a YouTube insert media, and you can put the YouTube link and it'll put it straight in and it manages the sizing and all of that automatically. So YouTube, Vimeo, Wistia, membership.io. I'm forgetting one, Justin. You added one, didn't you? Or is that it?
That's it.
Okay. That's it. Okay. Yeah. And so YouTube is a easy way to go. Vimeo, I use Vimeo all the time, but I have an account, and so I can control that a little bit more, and that can control the player a little bit more. If you don't need to pay for a video hosting service, then YouTube would be fine.
Well, if you use YouTube, don't. I mean, they can just like go to the next video, and it kind of continues to scroll through there. Well, I want to kind of just make it that video. That's the only video available. So do I have to use a Vimeo? Or
that's what Muddy was about to say, is the related links at the end. Is that what you can talk about?
Well, I was going to say the difference, the question said best. And so it's a difference between the best and the easiest. I agree, YouTube is probably the easiest, but you no longer have the ability to control the player very easily. So there's always going to be, in most cases, there's always going to be a button that says watch on YouTube, or at the end screen, it's going to come up with recommended videos. So Vimeo, while it's a paid service, gives you a lot more ability to customize the viewer, whether it has the logo, the icon, the play next, the view in Vimeo. And so Vimeo can solve the problem you're talking about of kind of limiting it to that video and they can't go elsewhere, but it's a paid service. So in my opinion, best is Vimeo, easiest is YouTube.
Okay, got it.
Good answer. Okay. How do I set up a virtual live? Is it even where I can see the attendees on a large TV where I'm interacting through my MacBook Air? Right. Do I need a second computer? Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, now I'm kind of getting down into the the productions stuff here. Because I'm getting my head back into this, and I do have something coming up, and I now have to figure out how to make all this work. So I'm kind of starting back at the point A. So so I'm asking, okay, so how is it? This is basic stuff. I get a large screen TV. How do I see people up there? I mean, how is it? Where do I go? How do I simulate that? Where do I go to learn about it? Everything like that. Actually, how do I have that interface, interaction, ability to see the people, and what do I need to do for that?
Yeah. So you're in Leap, correct, Jeffrey?
Yes.
So Justin or Muddy can confirm this, but the recent Tech Day, what was that called? Tech something Day. Is that available? Yep. Is that available to watch back now? Is that there?
Should be.
If not, there are several others that'll likely cover the same content.
Cover this off. Yeah. So did you attend that recent Tech Lab?
No.
Okay. That's worth doing. I mean, it was a whole day. But I think you could scrub through that and you would get to a meaty discussion about how setting up a TV to have gallery view and all of that. Blue steps through all of that in fine detail. So that would be worth looking at.
What in the Obvio database or video base that you have there it covers this? Anything, or this is
nothing in Obvio. Yeah, nothing in Obvio, but specifically because you're part of Leap, Blue does a whole tech day talking all about this, and how you would set up screens and things like that. So it's not related to Obvio necessarily.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Jeffrey, I sent you a message with the link to the latest Tech Lab.
Okay, great. Thanks.
You just look inside the Zoom chat, you'll see it.
It's in chat. Okay.
We might have answered all your questions, Jeffrey. I'm sure. Well, at least all the questions that you posted. I'm sure you have more questions.
Well, thank you. I'm looking for where that is, the link here. Oh, okay, I got it. Okay, excellent. All right, so I get that. Okay, all right.
Very good.
Thank you.
All the best, Jeffrey. You've got lots of homework now.
I do.
Muddy has a question. Is it true what I heard? Has our much loved support team member Heather James moved on to pursue a full-time career in nursing? I miss Heather. You miss Heather. Gee. Yes, it is true. She is working full-time in nursing. She's been working towards that for a couple of years. And because she's so lovely, she is actually still doing a little bit of work for us. So somehow, because, nursing's an easy job. So she can do Obvio on the in her downtime.
And you're just full of energy after a day of nursing. So
yeah, exactly. That's right. She's like, gee, I just want to get on a computer and do some stuff.
She's a wonderful person to not have on the team as much as she was. She was such a wonderful. If you're watching this, Heather, it's a joy to work with you.
I don't know why she would watch this. Heather, if you're watching this,
I don't know either.
Watch this. If you're watching this, stop, rest. Do your
go save
job.
A life. Quit watching this.
Yeah, exactly.
Someone's dying while you're watching us mess with tech stuff.
That's right. Stop watching this. You don't need to anymore. Anyway, yes, that's true, and we're very excited for her. I have a theory that what's best for your employees is what's best for the company, whichever way it works. So, as hard as it is sometimes. What else did you have here, Muddy? Do you want to keep the test event button on? No. But we're going to show. I did see that there before. I was thinking that. So take notes on this, everyone. This is very complicated. When you're demoing something and you create a random button, the way to delete it is just to go there and hit remove. And now it's gone and tidies that up. There you go. It's in the recording if you need to capture that.
I did submit one more question, which was
very good. Coming back to it.
Yeah, so one of the neat things about Obvio is the ability to send magic links, right? Send each person their custom link. And in general, the way that this works is with an external CRM system, you create a custom field, integrate Obvio with that, if it's one of the direct ones or with Zapier. The person becomes an attendee in Obvio, and Obvio will send back the login URL, aka the magic link, to that CRM system. The advantage of having it in the CRM system is then when you email someone from that CRM system, you can say, dear first name, here is your link, and insert custom field, and that their individual link will go to each person, right? So it sends Grant's magic link to Grant, Justin's magic link to Justin. It sends each person their individual login URL. The way to actually make that work is when you're crafting the email message in that CRM system, you have to be able to insert that merge code, is the way we often refer to it here, that merge code. And each CRM system is a little bit different about how that's formatted. And most CRM systems allow you to view all the fields and what the merge field is for each one of those. With ConvertKit, I'm working with a client who uses ConvertKit, and with ConvertKit, we can add a custom field, but you add that custom field from inside a contact record. You open up a contact record, and when you get to the bottom of the fields, there's a button that says add a new field. And you can add a new field there, populate it, and we have it working, and we have it populating with the login URL. But I can't seem to find any documentation on what the actual merge code is, what the nomenclature of the merge code is, to be able to insert that in an email. When you go to email, there's a button for personalization. That's what ConvertKit calls it. But personalization, the options in ConvertKit are only first name and email. It doesn't, and like custom tag or basically you can filter by tag, but it doesn't seem to surface, and I can't find anywhere in the backend settings, it doesn't seem to surface what the format is. So one thing I tested is when I inserted first name, it showed that it was curly bracket, like, let's say attendee dot first underscore name curly bracket or something like the attribute. I forget what something dot first name. And so I mimicked that formatting and just inserted, instead of first underscore name, inserted the field name and I was careful to use underscores, and there's no spaces, and so I insert. But when we did a test, several tests, it just came up blank. And actually, when we went to edit the email, we got a message saying href is missing, fix this or something. Basically, it didn't like the merge code that I came up with. And so thought I would circle back here to see if anyone is familiar with ConvertKit, either where to find the attribute codes, where to find those merge codes, or if there's something I'm missing. And I'll tell you how we chose to solve it in the end, but it's not as elegant as unique link. So I'd love to send them their magic link. So that's the backstory. That's the question.
Good question. Justin, do you know anything?
I'll have to look it up. Yep, I don't know it off the top of my head, but I do know it is possible.
Yeah.
Well, that's encouraging to hear that it's possible. I trust you. Yeah, and it's not. We have the data in there. Amy, I saw your comment around. Saw your comment around Zapier. We have the data in ConvertKit. It's just a matter of getting that into the body of the email. We tried with a button, tried with a link.
Hi, everyone. Today, we're going to walk you through the process of adding convert steps with us. First, click on Grow. Start.
Are you hearing that? Sorry, were you hearing that?
Are.
Okay.
Yes.
Cool. Sorry.
So I'll just tell you real quickly how we decided to solve it. And there's two things we're going to do. Well, so yeah, subscriber dot. So that's what we use. Double curly bracket space subscriber dot custom field name space double curly bracket. That's the format I used. So I can follow up.
In our case, it was LM space dashboard, and it converted the space to an underscore for us.
Yeah, so my name of the merge code had underscores. It was, event name, date, login URL with underscores in between them. So interesting. Okay. Well, I'll try that. But just for others, and just kind of for the benefit to close the loop on it real quickly, the way that we solved it, it's a relatively small event. And we decided there's basically three options. One is we could send an individual email to each person. We don't want to do that. Second option was we can send just the general eventslug.ovv.io, send that general email to everyone. And what happens is the first time they click it, it takes them to the login screen where they have to put in their email address and click enter or log in the event. And we chose to do that so that the emails they're getting have the same look and feel of the same email sequence they've gotten from ConvertKit. So we're going to do that, knowing that the first time they do that, they have to put in their email. But every time they go back to that general event link from that same computer, it will remember the cookie and it will log them right in. So it will kind of act like a magic link once there's a cookie in the system. So that's what we decided to do as part one. Part two is we know we can send communication from within Obvio. So in addition to sending that general link from ConvertKit, we'll send very short, brief, up to 3 emails per day, just simple reminders from Obvio, because we know we can put custom links or the magic links in from Obvio. So that's how we're going to solve it while we troubleshoot ConvertKit, and I'll try what Justin's coming up with. So thanks.
Cool. Often we get down the specifics of some of the other CRMs to actually make it work. So let's just see.
You might try a double underscore. Maybe ConvertKit's putting an underscore in front of yours, like it did for converted spaces to underscores. And I wouldn't put it past them.
Interesting. I wouldn't think it would know that that's a space, right? It's just a character.
I wouldn't think so. I wouldn't think so either. but you never know.
Yeah.
Okay. Jeff, I could use some help with customizing a purchase page. Can we take a look?
Yeah,
You want to share?
Doing my first page. I'm sending you a share request, Grant, and just struggling with some spacing issues. And then I am always open for a ruthless review if there's a way I can improve the look. Happy to get feedback from anybody on that. If there's a way I can improve it, let me go over here.
Can you share now? Yeah, you should be able to. Yeah.
There we go. Do you see that okay?
Yep.
So I've got this. This feels a little busy up here, but it's functional.
I like it.
This is working well. This, I wish it would stretch further. This is an actual image. I tried to recreate it with text blocks and such, and I just wasn't getting the same look as how it looks on our website. So I just stuck an image in there. But I wish there was a way to make that a little bit, not full width, but like closer. I'd love it to go like here and here. And so meet the speakers. This text feels a little crowded. I feel like we need a little more space in between here. I need to kind of compress each section a little. There's this big gap here that I cannot figure out how to get rid of for the life of me. And then this is kind of the other area. These testimonials, I don't have permission to use pictures of each person. So I just went ahead and removed those images, but it's leaving gaps and then messing up with the spacing and padding. And I've not found a way to really resolve that. Kind of same thing here at the bottom. It's inserting, it's not padding because it's not any padding programmed in, but there's these large gaps. So yeah, just wondered if we could maybe take a look at the editor and perhaps I'm doing something wrong.
Probably not. So if we were to look at the speakers one first.
Let me slide the editor over here. Okay.
So the one, the quotes is what I was thinking of, which is.
Oh, yes, right here.
Yeah, that one. I wonder if you can use a different module than that. Might be easier, right? So more of a standard, different block.
I've not tried rebuilding it yet.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, I think, Justin, we can add to the list about the space being, it should just remove that space altogether if the photos are not there, right? Sure. He's like, yeah.
It should.
Sounds good.
They are actually starting work on a whole new view engine for Marketplace because we have a lot of these spacing issues that are being caused by the engine that's behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So they're working on fixing that currently. So I'll make sure that's on the list.
Would you guys advise maybe just like a text block and then I mean, that's really all I'm using right now is text, right?
Yeah. I mean, you could do a grid and then just put two text boxes within the grid if you wanted to do it that way. That would be another way to do it.
And then from there, I would just go.
Then you can add.
Here, and then add another. Okay, I see. Yeah, I've not tried grid yet, so I wasn't.
Yeah, you could play around with that, and so that would resolve that.
The gap.
Yeah, I mean, to Justin's point, it's kind of like we've gone on to version 2 or 2.9 or something on where we're at the moment, and really this next one is going to resolve quite a few more. One of the things, just kind of the inside baseball, is how much flexibility we have had so far is actually causing a little bit of the trouble with too much flexibility has made it more complicated and open to more issues of spacing and things. So we're actually looking at just pulling back a little bit on how flexible it is, which will, I think, actually will make people happier. Yeah, that's it. That's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah, that looks really good.
Yeah, that'll work that way. And so by pulling back just a little bit of the flexibility, which can get people into trouble, we can use a slightly different system and actually be more robust. So that's where we're at with that. Cool. The other one with that spacing before the button, can you show me what that looks like in the editor? Yeah, that one.
I just was playing with that a little bit. In this, let's see, I'm removing this here to see if I can. And I tried this before. There seems to be like a bit of a refresh error. Like I had this a little bit last night too. I would refresh it once and it sometimes would show me something different. But if I refreshed 2 or 3 times, all of a sudden it was like the editor, like new things would appear. So I'm like, oh, there's a spacer there. That wasn't there the last 2 times. And so I think something on the back end feels like it's not always loading. So here's still a gap, which maybe that's this. But I tightened this up a lot earlier and I just didn't notice a big change. Let's refresh again.
They're the sorts of inconsistencies that we're seeing, unfortunately.
Yeah, a few things like that. And then I'd love to, squeeze these a little bit or tighten them up because it looks like, that text is really close there. So I'd have to add some padding or something.
So what have you done? You're not using a grid there, are you? You're not, that's not a grid, is it?
No. Well, this is perhaps, I don't know. This was a pre-built. So this is however the template came. I just swapped out content. So I'm not sure what the original structure is.
Oh, yeah, maybe it is. Oh.
I'm thinking it's an image followed by a text, followed by a divider, followed by more text, or headline actually is in the middle with the yellow. So it's 4 blocks that got added into that column.
And then 2 but it's not 2 columns. They were just dragged over as individual. That's what I'm trying to work out, if it's a grid.
So the other thing is the padding doesn't look like, I played with it a lot, trying to get the padding on the right to look like the padding on the left. Because it was not even at all. Like someone had slid part of the page over,
Right. Yeah.
What do you feel like is the best way to sort of compress this a little bit and create a little space in the middle? Like, what would be the best way to go about that? I've tried different things in here, and I feel like I'm not quite getting it.
If you roll over the column and click on the little cog, is this
right here
for the very top section?
Gotcha.
Is styling have any kind of padding in it? So there's where you could add some padding.
Yep.
So you can play around a little bit with the right and see what it does.
Might try 30 there and then do the same thing on the left here and see if that sort of gives me.
You missed it by 1.
Uniform.
Hold on. That's the image only.
Oh, thank you. I've made that mistake more than once.
And it did show that was a grid block when you clicked on that.
Yeah, that
it did, Muddy?
I thought it must have been.
It did, yep.
Oh, okay. How did you see that? Oh, grid block. Gotcha. The title. There you go, cool. Right at the top. I've missed that every time. Thank you.
And I suspected that because you have this kind of extra container around the whole thing.
That's right. That's what I was sort of looking at. Yeah. My take on that, the images there, I think I would to my eye, I would rather either have those images the same width as the text or have it left aligned. I think.
I agree.
Because
there's something off about that.
Title is left aligned. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, gotcha. Let me see. Sure, just a simple, yeah, there we go. Or horizontal. Left.
Yeah, see what that looks like.
One caveat, Jeff, that I discovered with Grid, I love Grid because you can kind of lock things in a little bit more and they kind of stay where you want.
Right.
On desktop.
Yeah.
But mobile response, I ended up just kind of wrestling with the mobile response and ultimately kind of abandoned the Grid. Yours looks pretty good, but just one thing to be aware of, just kind of keep double checking the mobile spacing with Grid from my experience.
Yeah, every several changes, I'll flop over to mobile and go, and then sometimes you put it in reverse. Yeah, this seems like it's not truly left aligning, right? Like maybe that's the padding that I have set that's interrupting it, but it's
refresh one more time.
Okay, the image feels like it's doing its own thing from the text, even though they should be connected, it seems like to me with that grid. You know, like
Agreed.
This is not a representation of what's happening in the editor. And that's why I'm like, I'm trying to figure out where the disconnect is happening.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, we still call it that it's in beta. The reason for being in beta, I think, you know, we have had people that have ran purchases through and it's worked fine. What I would say is that the reason it's still in beta is that these sorts of things, like is a formatting issue. I think would you agree, Justin, that we're from a functionality point of view, I think we've got it working quite nicely, you know, like all of that's working well. It's really just, it's a formatting thing, not just a formatting, but a formatting issue that, you know, some of these inconsistencies here.
I could try to squeeze this a little bit.
Still in beta.
Just going to try one or two things here just to see if we can get a little closer, or if you think I'm okay. So that's not bad.
Yeah.
Now we've got, you know what I mean? I have to increase padding. Yeah. But I feel like even the text is maybe a little bit more readable. Does it feel like this one feels like it kind of drags on?
Yeah, that's right.
Seems a little more overwhelming to read. Now, is there a way to get other than just eyeballing it, which is what I'm about to do, is there a way to get these the same size, like the same width?
Yeah, I think this is an example of what that highly customizable section there. If we lock that down a little more, I think it's going to make things so much easier, rather than the full flexibility of being able to have those at different sizes. Just have them locked to the grid, and that's it. Still add padding and things, but not have the ability to just drag things around. That's what's creating the issues for us, is there's too much fine adjustment that you can do. And then it just makes it harder. You just want to be able to just almost drag and drop, place that there and know that they're just going to be centered. And okay, I want some extra padding around it, but not, I want padding as well as I want to drag and change the width. That's where we're getting unstuck, I think. So
the dragging works beautifully. Like the UI for that is beautiful. Like it's so smooth, responsive. So yeah, hats off to your developers on that. I think the challenge is ideally there would be a bit of a snapping that would happen when it's in a sweet spot. And that's it's a lot more work, I'm sure, to get that to happen. As far as here, so now
Jeff,
it looks like everything's
to answer your question, or to at least look at something for your width. If you go to that section, that grid block, does it back in the editor, does it actually have a width in there under styling?
There's a block spacing. That looks like it's vertical, though.
Yeah, it looks like there's not a...
Yeah.
No, I'd love to have a readout so that whatever I program to one, I can program to the other.
Number of columns is
columns.
4 columns. Is
a potential.
Let me go back to that. Ah. Okay. Oops. Let's just discard that. Well, Apparently it applied it anyways. Whoops. Sorry, y'all.
That's interesting.
Got to go back in the grid.
Are you sure you want to change it? I've already changed it. Are you sure you? Yeah.
What just happened?
Try clicking on the number of columns wide and see if you can put a number higher than 4.
Okay. Let's try. Whoops.
That is saying within the grid, how many columns do you want inside that column? So, or, basically the whole grid is only 2 columns wide. And when you said more than that, it condensed it down to fit more columns inside the grid.
Okay. 1 second. I'll get back here. I don't know what happened. It all of a sudden like popped me out of there. Okay. Here we go. I thought we were on 4 with this one. Let's just check. Let's see if we can make these guys match. Yeah, 4 columns wide. But if I type it in over here, it's almost like it's messed up here. See, it says 4, but clearly something's off somewhere.
It changed the padding. It didn't. No, okay, it's not.
The padding looks fine. But it's weird. I'm doing. Does this feel like it's going backwards?
I think that's what you want. So click OK on 2 and see if that's where it was.
Okay. Here we go. Let's just refresh here. There we go. That's weird because this one's set on 4. This one's on 2 and they look the same.
Yep. I have a feeling it's because you dragged the sizing and it didn't auto adjust the actual column width. So now when you drag it, it's still calculating as if you had not dragged the column to be smaller. Yeah, this is
maybe okay.
This is one of the unfortunate side effects of our current view engine. Is getting all
gotcha.
This height. It's really a height problem more than anything, which then manifests itself as height and width.
See, but if I slide these just a little bit, I think I can get them centered on the button. Like my guess is that probably looks pretty decent. I might need a little more space in the middle, but it might be too close. It's not bad.
It looks great.
That's getting closer.
Yeah. Okay, so it is it's almost there. So I think if I redo this, like that was really good, Grant. Thank you. And Justin Muddy, thanks for chiming in on that. The spacing here, this is probably the height problem you're talking about, Justin, but the challenge here is if I try to drag this up, the image gets smaller. There's no padding, and the image itself, the PNG, transparent PNG, it's like cut right here at the top and right at the bottom. Like there's no extra space.
There's an option in that image block setting for image size. So first get the square the way you want it, and then I know it says 100, but I think if you change the size and then come back in here, you might be able to make it bigger.
Should I go to like 80?
No, I would go out of this editor and shrink the box first, then come back into this editor and see.
Okay. Have a little play. I want to get to Jolanta's questions here. So you've been very patient for 2 hours. I actually looked for you. I looked for you before and I couldn't see you. I thought that you may have already left. So let's see if we can fire off these questions. So reward points. I
just wanted to thank you. Yeah, I wanted to thank you so much because that was really speedy, fix in time for our live event on Monday. So thank you, truly.
I'm glad. No, of course. No, the reason that that's come about is of how we're doing our language translation now. And it just got caught up with a little bug for language translation. And so it affects English as well. So that's why that happened. But I'm glad that happened before we got it fixed before your event. All right. Breakout room's not recorded. Yeah. Unfortunately, it is a limitation of Zoom. There's no way the only way around it is local recording, but local recording is a Pandora's box on an Obvio on our Obvio accounts, particularly for our super large scale events, and so we don't have it enabled on the account. It also is a problem for. So the long story short is, if you would like to experiment with recording a breakout room with local recording, then we can enable local recording for your particular event, but there's just a lot of caveat with that because it's tricky to manage also recording in the cloud and recording and doing local recording, and local recording is just on that computer and that's it, that's all it is. So yeah, it's a bit tricky. I think they do it intentionally. Well, I mean, it would be a crazy amount of cloud recording if they enabled that, but also it's a little bit more private. The breakout rooms, I think, is kind of the idea. So
yeah, what we did, which I totally understand, what we did was we had 3 breakout rooms divided by 150 people, and they were basically by business type, right? So brick and mortar, local service provider, and
yes, I remember.
grants.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
And they were so good that people were asking for recordings, and
of course,
no go, so yeah.
In that instance, you could do 3 separate meetings, 3 separate rooms, and the thing with that is too, because who those people are, you could just have one button and it will automatically assign them to the right room, right? So if you were doing, this session 3 is concurrent sessions, then now click here to enter session 3, and you can do rules to have it, or you can have it where people can choose which one they want to go to, right? Like you can just have 3 buttons on the dashboard, you open those 3 rooms, and away you go. So from a technical point of view, it's very similar because you've still got a host in each one of those breakouts. It just means that when you finish that session, you've got to get everyone back into either another session or one of those. You could use one of those as the main room. In the same way, if we were in person, you use the ballroom as one of the concurrents, and then you have 2 other concurrents. Same thing. You could have one Zoom meeting that you continue to use. All the brick and mortar stay in this meeting. Other guys jump out, go to the dashboard, choose those other 2, go out. Now you've recorded all 3, right? You have all the controls and everything. You've got captioning. You've got all the things that you might want that may not be available in a breakout. You've now got it by doing it in there. So that's something to think about.
So that leads to my next question, which is, remember Blue suggested the fix regarding, instead of trying to tag, to do labels because of the issue of importing, because we didn't have like marketplace, right, to sell the tickets. So basically they were self-electing their labels when they checked in through the waiver form as a survey, but then I didn't see much functionality for me to then use those labels to kind of set things up. Like, for example, make a rule that if someone elects this label, they get this tag that can then be applied in other places. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't see that. Is that a function in there?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So I'll show you this quickly, but yeah, this is kind of a great. Hang on. Oh, that was right. Sorry, too many screens. So if we look at a button, so join the Q&A call, we could have 3 different buttons for the 3 different rooms. I know you know that, so you're choosing where it goes. But in the rules, add a rule, tags groups, but form response.
Oh no, form response.
Right? Yep. So now based on the answer, what is your favorite color? If your favorite color is red, then this button will show.
Well. Okay, that's one piece.
Blown. Yep. I like when people ask a question, we've got a complete answer for you.
Oh yes, but let's see about this one though,
Okay.
because now
Yep.
I tried in the broadcast, I was working around with the filters because so now what we're doing is today, so maybe we have a solution for tomorrow and Friday. So today, tomorrow and Friday, we have business type office hours. So today we had brick and mortar. And when I went in there and I went into the broadcast to see if I can filter out that label, couldn't do it. So how would you go about it for the broadcast?
At the moment, yes, you're right. We don't have form responses in the broadcast, and Justin can make that note, put that on the wish list. But in the meantime, the way that I would do it is I would export all my attendees, export the form data, right? And then re-import that list, taking that form data. Let me see if I'm making sense here. So have you done an import? Have you done a manual import before on the attendees? Have you done that
Yes,
as a CSV?
I've done manual. And I'm actually terrified of like overwriting something or messing something up in the process. So if you can walk me through that, that would be great.
Yeah. So yes, you do want to be careful. The thing is that it will only change a field that it has changed, right? And so if the way that the spreadsheet is looking for the the columns is first name, last name, email, phone if it's there, tags, and then groups, right? And so what you can do is, what happens is when you export your attendee list, you will get all of those fields and a couple more. You'll get like the checked in date, you'll get the tags, you'll get, kind of, and any of the groups that you already have. When you do a form response export, download submissions, thanks to Jeff, you also get all the groups and tags when you do that export, right? So what you'll get the form response, you'll also get first name, last name, email, and the tags and the group. So you'll get a complete set of data. What you do then is just reconfigure those columns and do an import again. And now it'll add that group, the form response group, however you want to call that. Is that kind of making sense? I don't know that I'm explaining it very well, but I'll show you where you're downloading the form responses.
Oh, that I know. But when you're saying reconfiguring, that's where I'm not so sure.
Okay, let me try this one. I want something with just not many on it. I'll just get this response.
And after this, what I could do is like test it on like one attendee. I could import a CSV of like myself back into Obvio 100%. To see what happens.
Very smart. Yep, that would be a great way to do it. So if we look at this, I think we did this poll at one point. All right. So you can't see that. Change that to this. So you can see here, this is the download submission. first name, last name, email. Just got that hiding a little bit. Tags, and then tags is crazy in this one, but potato was something. And then what's your favorite color? Right. So say this is your what industry type are you? You could change this to whatever you want to call it. Instead of it being the question, you can just change it to whatever you want. And now this actually will import. So for example, I might want to get rid of that. And then this will import an update. So it would go first name, last name, email, tags, and it'll add a group called industry and with all the right. So now it'll be a group. And I know you're sort of doubling up at this point, but at least it'll work for your broadcasts.
Okay.
And then wherever, I would still use the form response, because if you have other people that join, new people that join, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's a way around to make that work now. But yeah, it was something that we added, and then we just haven't been back to add it back to broadcasts, because we didn't used to have the filter in broadcasts either. So, so then you'll have that there, and then you can filter and send out different broadcasts. That would be the way I would do it.
So my next question on the list is actually related to the broadcast stats, because it looked a little bit funky, like it doubled the numbers, and then it showed like some bounced emails, and I don't know where to pull those bounced emails. So like, I don't know, is that just like kind of in development right now?
It is in development. It is in development, and most of the time our development is done hidden away, and it can be done on staging servers and separate servers. This is a particular use case where it's very difficult to do it unless we have real data that we're dealing with. And so we're kind of developing live on there at the moment, unfortunately. We didn't have stats at all, and we find that it's really important. And we want to have the ability to see those bounces and things like that, to see what that is. So yeah, Justin and the team are working on that at the moment. I would take that loosely at the moment when you're looking at it, and until we can kind of alert everyone that we believe it to be accurate now. So in the meantime, I would be looking at all the people that have not checked in yet, and a way is for you to send them an email using a different source, and then you would see if you would get a bounce back. Just checking in, because I haven't seen you check in yet, which means you haven't got the email, which your email might be incorrect, which we might need to chase you up because you put a spelling error in your email, right? That type of thing. So it is one reason we love having multiple sources of contact for people. And so even having WhatsApp groups, Facebook groups, whatever, some way, that's another form of contacting them. Having their phone number, if they'll give it to you, is really great, because you can send text then as well, right? So something to think about.
Yeah, we actually have a Discord community for our event. Yeah, it's been really great. So we did it last year when we did everything manually, and this time it's been just as amazing. Okay, just a couple of things, a couple more things. I'm running through quickly because I have to go. My family's waiting for me for dinner. But the selfie wall, a lot of people had trouble submitting. And I know that I'm supposed to approve them, but for some reason they just weren't able, no matter how many times they tried to submit. So I'm not sure if that's like a system error or a user error. I have no idea.
Okay. we will put it on the list to go and have another play with and see if we're seeing something happening there.
Okay.
It's cool that you're using it. It's a fun feature. So
yeah, and we gamified things, so that's why, like, over the weekend we were like, oh my gosh, we want to make sure we used everything.
You pulled out all the stops.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So it was really cool what you were showing, what Jeff was working on earlier with Marketplace. I only have the trial, so when it becomes a paid subscription, do I get access to Marketplace?
It's in beta, and so it is a manual addition that we can you sort of opt into it, acknowledging that it's beta, and so I can turn that on for you even with the trial, so you know what you're in for, and you can have a little play. So that's fine.
That'll be cool because the experience has been so amazing with the software that I definitely want to use it in other use cases, not just with the pet industry network, but with my own business, because I'm going to be hosting some educational workshops and things like that. So I really, really want to see how much I can do with Obvio. We pulled everything together in just the last 2 weeks, and it's been incredibly user friendly. So I'm like, the next time I'm on a Q&A, I have to give you guys like I'm just exhausted and my brain is a little fried, but I really want to give you guys a raving testimonial, because it literally was a game changer from an experience perspective.
So good.
Yeah. So yeah, we had one last question, which was about closing the event, right?
Yes.
Friday is our last like live session, so I don't know what to do next after that.
So the date window that you have only relates to Zoom. Only relates to Zoom. Okay. So yep. So the dashboard is available before, during, after, as long as you have a subscription, it's available. And so particularly when you have resources available, or maybe you've got some pre-record videos or things on the dashboard, people can access that for as long as you want. They can come back at a year later and they could access it. So there is a way to take the event offline if you really want to shut it down. There is an offline mode, and you can redirect the dashboard to another site if you want to. But the default is that the dashboard just continues to work.
Okay, that's interesting.
So you don't need to worry about that date window, only unless you're using Zoom again. So
gotcha. Awesome.
And you have Marketplace now, so when you refresh, you'll see that there as an option.
Yeah. All right, cool. Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate these Q&As are so helpful. I'm so into this platform. Can't wait to see where it takes my businesses. So thank you.
You're very welcome. Go have some dinner.
All right. Yeah. Good night, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Grant, can I flash one thing on the screen for you and Justin to see?
Yeah.
Okay. This is a quick, what I think is a bug. So this is the page in Chrome. This is the page in Safari.
Yeah.
So I just wanted you to see that. I can take
Safari?
it offline because I know we're over time, but what's
Safari,
that?
What?
Who uses Safari? What is that? You don't have that on Windows?
No, that's fair enough. Lots of people do.
You don't have that on Windows. Well, come over to the light side. Leave your evil ways.
Right. Exactly.
Oh, code.
Thank you. We'll add it to the list for you, Jeff.
Yeah.
Thanks, man.
We definitely, it's, even more important than the dashboard working across, browsers compatibility. It's super important that the purchase page does. And so that's high on the priority. So understood. We'll have a look at it. All right.
Yeah, thanks.
2.5 hours. That's enough. Thank you, everyone. We will catch you again next week, same time, 5 p.m. Eastern. And you can email us in the meantime, help@obv.io. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.